In this lecture, we'll look at one of the alternative sources of data that Tableau can use, and that is a web service, commonly referred to as an API, Application Programming Interface. Default Tableau installation comes preloaded with some of the more common vendor APIs such as Google Analytics, Google BigQuery, and the Windows Azure Marketplace. In this example, we will connect to a sample dataset on Google BigQuery. So in our Connect to Data view, click on Google BigQuery, and you will be prompted to log into your Google account. Now, your Google account needs to be set up to have access to Google BigQuery. How to do that is beyond the scope of this lecture and this course, but if you are interested, you can head over to this link at the bottom of your screen and learn more about it. So I will connect with my Google account and sign in, and at this point you'll be asked by Tableau software to provide access to your some of your Google details, including Google BigQuery data that you might have stored on there. So click accept, and this will take you to the Google BigQuery data connection window. So in my case, I only have access to a sample set of data sets on Google BigQuery. So here we can see that we're connected to the Google BigQuery, to one of the servers, and the data sets on Google BigQuery are organized into projects, and now I'm connected to a public data project at the moment, and underneath that I can select only a samples data set, which consists of half a dozen tables or so. In our example, we'll use natality data set, so drag that onto your main sheet. And Tableau at this point will examine some metadata around the natality data set and we'll bring that back. In this case, it doesn't actually bring back the records, but you can click on Update Now to retrieve 10,000 records, so you can actually examine them and make some decisions around what fields you want to include in your workbook. It takes a little bit of time, but not too long. But when it comes back, you can see that some of these fields are actually null, so we may want to choose to hide them and not bring them into the workbook. So I won't go through all of them at the moment, but the options you can do here is just like with any other data connection, is you can rename fields and you can hide them if you want. In addition, you can also change the data types, so we can choose to be for plurality. We can choose it to be decimal, whole, or a string, and so forth, but we won't change any of those details at the moment. In addition, you can specify filters at the data source level, and also whether you're connecting live or via an extract. So I'll leave all the details, I'll leave all the defaults as they are at the moment, and I will click on Go to Worksheet. So what we've done is establish a connection to Google BigQuery, to a natality data set, as you can see, and the Tableau has actually pulled some of its information back into the workbook. We can see the fields are organized into dimensions and measures, and we are now ready to do the analysis of this data. So one thing to keep in mind is that this is a fairly large data set. We can actually see by dragging a number of records onto the rows shelf. And we can see there's 140 million records in a data set. It's something to keep in mind as you're building your data visualization, is that the more complex it gets, the slower it will get. One thing you can do is actually switch off the auto updates of the worksheet. So if, for example, if that was switched off and I did the same thing with number of records, the sheet doesn't actually get updated, so the query is not run. So you can actually build a number of, you can specify a number of filters and dimensions and measures onto your data visualization before you're actually clicking on the update button and running the actual query. Okay, now that we have this dataset available, let's make use of it and create a a quick data visualization. So for this example, I'll use everborn, which is total number of people born. I'll drag that onto the rows shelf, and I'll drag year column onto the columns. What this does, it shows me total number of people being born across the number of years. So it goes from 1969 all the way to year 2008, which is what's available in the dataset. We can see the peak was in 1988, where over 9.1 million people were born. We might want to compare this against another measure, let's say a weight in pounds. I'll drag this onto the secondary measure, and I can actually now see the two measures being charted. However, the weight in pounds is also being added as sum, but that doesn't quite make sense. So we'll change that to a different aggregation type. So we'll make it an average, which makes a bit more sense. So now we can see total number of people being born on the left-hand side compared to the average weight in pounds on the right-hand side. And with this, we can see two different measures charted across time. The other important point on connecting to web service is that currently, when connecting from Tableau Desktop, you can only use data connectors that are provided with the software. So we can connect to Google Analytics, BigQuery, and the Windows Azure. You cannot connect to a custom-built API directly from Tableau Desktop. So in order to do this, you have to write a custom script that connects to your API and extracts data to one of the formats that Tableau can then consume, such as a flat file, a database, or a Tableau extract itself. So if you've built a web app which may be exposing some data via an API, Tableau will not be able to consume it directly. You will have to build an intermediate agent effectively.